On Valentine's Day, 1981, a 12-year-old boy named Tag Domboski was crossing a backyard in his hometown when the ground simply opened. A hole yawned open beneath his feet and swallowed him to the shoulders, hot and breathing steam. He grabbed a tree root and held on. What was rising past his face wasn't just smoke. It was carbon monoxide, at levels that can kill a person in minutes. His cousin hauled him out by the arm. The boy survived, but the question that hole asked did not go away, because the heat that opened it had been building beneath his town for 19 years, and more than 60 years later, it is still burning. To understand how an entire town ends up stranded on top of a fire, one nobody can reach and nobody can put out, you have to know what Centralia was built on: coal. Not just any coal, anthracite, hard, dense, slow-burning, the fuel that heated the cities of the East. And a fortune of it lay packed into the seams beneath these hills. To get at it, miners spent decades carving a honeycomb under the town, tunnels and chambers threading through the coal in every direction, right beneath the houses, the streets, the schoolyard. Centralia wasn't just built on coal, it was built over it, on ground that was already hollow. That coal made the town. By 1890, nearly 2,800 people lived here, with 7 churches and a main street of hotels and saloons. Even its beginnings carried a dark note. The engineer who first laid it out, Alexander Ray, was murdered in 1868 in the violent coal country labor wars of the Molly Maguires. The coal built Centralia, and one day that same coal and all those hollow tunnels would unmake it. It started with a single fire on one ordinary spring afternoon in 1962. The most widely accepted story begins with something completely ordinary. In the spring of 1962, the borough wanted to tidy up the town dump before the Memorial Day holiday. The landfill sat in an old, abandoned strip mine pit, and the way you cleaned up a dump back then was simple. You set it on fire. They lit it. They hosed it down. Days later, the flames came back. They doused it again, and it came back again. What no one fully grasped was that somewhere in that pit was an opening, an unsealed seam of coal leading straight down into the maze of old mines below. Now, the exact spark is still debated. Some point to that deliberate burn, others to hot ash dumped the day before, some to slow, natural heating in the coal itself. The precise cause was never proven, but the outcome is not in doubt. The fire found the coal, and the coal went down forever. Here is the terrible thing about a coal seam fire. Once it's burning underground, in a vein of coal hundreds of feet deep, there is almost no way to stop it. You can't flood it, the water boils off. You can't smother it, the coal makes its own path for air through all those tunnels. And you can't simply wait it out, because it has more fuel than it could burn through in centuries. Engineers who fought these fires say the same grim thing. Often, the only sure cure is to dig the entire burning seam out of the earth. And that was the trap. In the years after 1962, crews tried, digging trenches to cut the fire off, drilling boreholes to map it. But every time they thought they'd gotten ahead of it, the fire had already slipped past, deeper or wider, through a tunnel no one had accounted for. To truly excavate it would have meant tearing open the ground beneath the whole town at a cost no one was willing to pay. So the fire kept its lead. Down in the seam, temperatures climbed past 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The fire crept outward through the honeycomb year after year, while on the surface, people went to work and raised their kids and had no real idea how close beneath their feet it had come, until it started to show. Through the 1970s, the signs crept in.
steam curling up from the ground on cold mornings, roads beginning to crack and buckle as the earth cooked and settled underneath. And then the quiet, invisible danger. Gas, carbon monoxide, seeping up out of the ground and into people's basements.
It got serious enough that officials began putting gas monitors inside homes, and families learned to watch a gauge the way you'd watch the weather. Children grew up in a town where the ground itself might be poisoning the air in the cellar. For years, people argued about how bad it really was. And then, on Valentine's Day, 1981, the argument ended with the sinkhole that nearly took Todd Domboski. That near death and the headlines that followed changed everything. A town could argue about smoke and property values. It could not argue with a hole that had almost swallowed a child alive, venting poison from the fire below. The danger was no longer theoretical. It was under the streets, and it was reaching up. In the mid-1980s, the U.S. Congress set aside more than $42 million, not to fight the fire, but to move the people away from it. $42 million for relocation, not firefighting. And that tells you how the battle had already been decided. They weren't going to save the town. They were going to save the townspeople from the town. But the town did not agree on what to do. For every family that took the money and left, there was a neighbor who believed the danger was being overstated, that the fire was an excuse, and that the real prize was the coal still under their homes. Friends ended up on opposite sides of a line that ran right down their own streets. Leave or stay. It split the community as surely as the fire did. In the end, most families took the buyout. Homes came down by the hundreds, block by block, until whole streets were just gaps in the grid. Then, in 1992, the state took what was left. It claimed every property in Centralia by eminent domain and formally condemned the borough. In 2002, the Postal Service delivered the final small humiliation. It revoked the town's zip code. On paper, Centralia had ceased to exist. And yet a stubborn few refused to go. They fought it for years, and in 2013, they won a quiet, remarkable agreement. The last holdouts could stay in their homes for the rest of their lives, and only then would the houses pass to the state. They had traded away almost everything for the one thing they truly wanted: to die at home, in a town that officially wasn't there anymore. Drive into Centralia today, and the strangest thing is how much you don't see. An empty street grid from above, sidewalks and driveways leading to nothing. The grid is still there. Streets, curbs, the occasional lonely house. But the town they served is mostly gone. In places, the ground still steams. For years, visitors came for a stretch of abandoned highway, old Route 61, buckled by the heat and buried under decades of spray paint. They called it the Graffiti Highway. In 2020, the landowner covered the whole thing over with dirt. Even the ruin is gone now. And you may have heard the legend that this smoking, half-vanished town was the inspiration for the horror game Silent Hill. The truth is more specific. It was the 2006 film that borrowed Centralia's atmosphere. The game's creators have said more than once that their town was never Centralia at all. The real place needs no fictional ghosts, because something here did survive. On a rise at the edge of town stands one church, Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary. When the fire's path was mapped, this building turned out to sit on solid rock, not coal. It was spared. The lone hilltop church. It still holds Mass every week for the people who once lived here, and it's become a place of pilgrimage. Below it, the cemeteries are still tended, mowed and planted by the children and grandchildren of Centralia,
come home to care for the dead in a town the living had to abandon. The fire is still down there. By most estimates, it has enough coal to burn for another 250 years, about as long as the United States itself has existed. Centralia wasn't taken by a flood or a war or a slow drift of people to the cities. It was undone by the very thing it was built to dig up, a fire lit most likely by accident on an ordinary spring afternoon that no one could ever put back out. And yet, it isn't quite gone. Every week, the little church on the hill still fills. Every year, the children and grandchildren of Centralia climb back up to tend the graves in a town the map no longer admits exists. The tended cemetery, the lone hilltop church. The ground beneath them is still burning, and still they come home. Some places simply vanish. This one refuses to.
Next time on Margins of the Map, we follow the fire somewhere else entirely, to a crater in the deserts of Turkmenistan that has been burning for decades and that locals call the door to hell. Centralia's fire was an accident. This next one, people lit on purpose. If you want to keep standing at the edge of the map with us, subscribe, and I'll see you there.